Hello, Peter. Thank you for coming here again. Today as
Thank you,
well.
Mika.
Thank you. Today as well. Through your interview, I'd like to ask you for some tips and messages on various aspects of self-mastery that can help each of us to unfold our journey more enjoyable and happy. Last time, the word discipline appeared in the overview of self-mastery. I feel that it is one of the important foundational of self-mastery. Could you tell us more about it? I also think that it is linked to karma and the universal laws. So could you tell us about those as well?
So discipline is key with all this as well as dedication. Now, in terms of discipline, we could say it's obeying certain practices, rules that you can even impose on yourself to reach a certain outcome, a certain goal. With self-mastery, there are practices. There are mindfulness practices. Then there's exercises in terms of physical exercise, as well as practices to do with meditation, philosophy. There's different areas. It's really putting upon yourself and imposing on yourself what you feel you need to do in order to get the outcome that you want. So because there's so many different areas with self-mastery, we could take just as an example, mindfulness, being aware that you're aware, being aware when you're being triggered. So if something's happening that you don't like, being aware of that, being aware of what you're feeling, being aware of what you can do about that. So the old saying again, it's making lemonade from lemons if you've got that type of situation where things are occurring. But it does come back to training yourself to be aware of when you're being triggered. But self-mastery isn't all about healing and being in control of one's emotions, one's thoughts, one's actions. It's also got to do with achieving and being in a joyful state. So that joyful state attracts the likeness of joy. Just like we hear about the law of attraction, the law of abundance, it's incorporating doing joyful things. And this is why I say, even if it's hobbies or exercises or going out and seeing people or whatever it is that brings you bliss, it's making things like that a regular occurrence, having discipline, making time for these types of things. So even with discipline, setting a routine of the life that you want to live. As an example, if you want to be healthy and maintain a healthy diet and exercise, these are the things that have got to be done to maintain being healthy. So if people want to lose weight, working out more, educating themselves on diet. Of course, there's sometimes health complications and situations that people have, but it's educating yourself and then getting that education, which is the knowledge, then implementing the wisdom to be productive and proactive with that which you're wanting to get that desired outcome. So it's a well-rounded area that we can go into with certain sections and what have you. But karma and universal law do play a part in our existence in the earth human experience. Though, as I say, karma can also be illusionary. It's all about one's thought process, one's intentions, and focus of energy that creates a certain outcome. There is what we call cause and action. So there's things that cause certain things to happen, and then there's an action. And you can also reverse it, that an action causes an outcome. So when you've got situations like this, it's asking yourself, are you repeating a certain situation, a certain decision in certain situations, which are going to repeat the same outcome? And if so, those outcomes are only going to get you the same actions, which is the same result. So from other lives, other existences, there are also influences of past lives, even future lives, if we look at things in a quantum way rather than a linear, that affect our existence, that also affect soul contracts in situations that we want to put ourselves into to whether grow, learn, or rectify certain situations. And then there is also universal law. So with universal law, there is no book on it, but it's connecting with the heart. And there's, even without doing that, you have a feeling of what's right and what's wrong, unless you're a complete psychopath. But there is a feeling, and sometimes that feeling overrides logic of not knowing why you've got to do a certain thing, but you know from the heart space, you're feeling that it's right to do. Now, it can be uncomfortable doing the right thing, especially if you're not understanding why you're making this decision and you're looking at the results of, is this going to affect others? If so, is it going to make a situation better? And there's going into the unknown, which is of a situation of being out of your comfort zone, being in a situation where you may be concerned with your safety and security. Safety of, if I've got a roof over my head, is this getting done? Which also goes into security. Do I have finances coming in? Am I actually physically safe as well as emotionally safe? There's all these things that overlap within this. But if following the heart, which is sort of the book of universal law, that's more of a feeling rather than an actual physical book, what can be waiting for you on the other side of that time, going through that uncomfortableness, can be more beneficial and amazing than what you can perceive before going through whatever it is that you're going through. But what stops one from thriving, what stops one from growing, is fear of the unknown and fear of security. But again, if you're going with the heart space and you go through that, what you can learn about yourself as well as what can be achieved on the other end of that period is quite amazing. So universal law of right and wrong, and we could look in the bigger scheme of saying that there's no right or wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. But universal law is doing unto others as you would like done to yourself. That is one of the components of that. It's a feeling. And that's sort of the knowing what right actions to take rather than wrong, depending on one's lens and how they view this reality.
Thank you. There are times in our lives when things don't go the way we expected, and unexpected things happen too. Then emotions and various thoughts start to move. In such a case, how can we use self-mastery to help us unfold our journey?
There's a fine line and a mix and a balance between doing something and not doing something. So in a situation like this, there is what I say, going with the flow and being like water. And we hear many different teachers and what have you talk about be like water, Bruce Lee being one of them. Being like water for a moment, just imagine you're a molecule of water in a river. There's going to be obstacles, rocks in that water stream, plants, fish life, what have you. When you go with the flow, you go above, below, and around obstacles. It's done with ease. It's done without resistance. When we go into reactionary mind, it's like that water molecule that we are can flick up and get caught on the surface of a rock momentarily. And we can make a situation bigger than what it is, sort of like making a mountain out of a molehill. But it's also knowing when to take action and when not to. So in terms of being like water, it's best to be like water after and having have set the intention, but it's also a catch-22, as we say, the flip side of making moves to meet the universe halfway with what you desire, or what we could say if you want to use incantations of certain things that you want to attract and manifest in your life as having those things in the now. So unless you're an enlightened master that can sit there and meditate and go, I want a loaf of bread now, and it appears, what are you going to do to get that loaf of bread? The universe can bless you with having the money to get that bread, but you may have to get up and go down to the shops and get that bread, which means you've got to meet the universe halfway. There could be somebody that just gives you it as well. It's not trying to control the situation. As I say, there are blessings in burdens. But another analogy, because I have to use analogies for this, sometimes the universe is getting you where you need to go rather than where you think you need to go, while also bringing to you the desired outcome you're putting out for, as well as blessings that come with that, and extra outcomes and riches through experience than what you could previously understand until after the fact, such as, let's say you need to go down to the shop today. And when you go down to the shop to do your shopping for food, there's a detour, there's roadworks. Now, you could go, oh, how am I going to get to the shop now? What am I going to do? I've got to take this detour. So you take the detour. Yet do you know you could have lived in a certain area for 10 years, never gone this way, and you've actually got to the shops, let's say 2 minutes quicker than you ever have. Now, to you, it's a detour, but the universe still got you to where you needed to go and where you wanted to go. And in this case, it could have got you there quicker. So there's always reasons for certain things, whether it's to prevent accidents, to bring opportunities, through synchronistic events. There are blessings in them that we can't see at the time until we grow, we evolve, and we start to see how the universe works with us and how we meet it halfway. And that's why, rather than seeing the burden in situations, see the blessings and see the fruit and see all possibility of what's presented to you in that. But that is done from training oneself through self-mastery to see the cup half full rather than half empty.
Thank you. What should we be aware of and look out for when trying to make contact with extraterrestrials and guides on our spiritual journey? Also, what else is better for us to know?
I would say to encompass those two questions together is first, before delving into this, and you can put a link up to in Japanese, the link to the clearing techniques, because that would be number one before going any further, which we can talk a lot more about extraterrestrial contact, the modalities. Intention is 90% of it, coming from the heart, setting an intention to open up to experience these things. But you need to be very precise, because if not everything in the universe is of a positive nature. Now, if they wanted us dead, we would be. So this is where I say you've got to be very precise in what you're opening up to, which is where clearing techniques, or they're a type of prayer technique, which again, you can use your own. It sets the stage of clearing the space, clearing the environment, and setting a standard for what you're going to interface with for contact. Now, we can have contact in our dreams. We can see a flash of light in front of us, or a being in an apparition form, which there's a very close connection between ghosts and the paranormal, and not just extraterrestrials, but multidimensional, transdimensional intelligences. So the same way that we may interface like a medium does with a spirit, we can use that same method with some extraterrestrials and transdimensional intelligences. It depends on the race and species and type. But the universal language is thought along with feeling, as well as intention of what you're trying to communicate, that can also come with visionary experiences. So before we delve into that further, I think setting the stage of clearings, the importance of clearings, that not only can it help you have clear contact with extraterrestrial and transdimensional intelligences, it can help you with keeping your own energy clean, your own intentions clean and unhindered. And you can also do them and include friends and families and projects that you're working on as well in those clearings. So, Mika, I hope that is some food for thought anyway, with how I've approached what you've asked, and I hope it's beneficial.
Thank you. This time as well, Peter, thank you for your great messages. I hope I hope they light your life up and bring love and joy into your life. Love, light, and blessings to all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.